Hey, everybody, it's Marianne Bailey with the Hip Senior Podcast. Today, we have a special episode, and I'm so excited to be bringing this to you because it is such an important topic, and it's how to acknowledge and to recognize scams as they're happening in real time. Because what some of you all don't know is that for 20, 30 years, I have been teaching seniors how to use the internet and how to use their computers in a safe way of doing so. And we are always trying to alert people to different scams going on. She was introduced to me from our friend Susan, and she has become a dear friend of mine. I help her with some of her social media stuff. She's an author. She is a senior, most importantly. Her name is Diane Reynolds, and Diane is going to be with us in just a minute. Diane had a scam happen, and I wanted to show you all the video that CBS did about her story. It was a 3-minute video, and when most people don't realize is that when you're on the news, they can only show such a short segment about what it is they're talking about. And so this minute video ends up being about 3 minutes, 20 seconds or so. Give it a watch. And then when we come back, I'm going to introduce you to Diane, and we're going to give you the rest of the story behind what really happened. So watch this. We'll be right back.
This morning, we have an urgent warning for consumers about cryptocurrency ATMs. The top city prosecutor in Washington, D.C. claims an ATM provider is enabling a crypto scam where victims think they are protecting their money by buying Bitcoin. National consumer correspondent Usher Qureshi spoke to a woman who says she was taken in.
There was a voice message that was coming on with this and said, don't turn your computer on, don't turn your computer off.
Last summer, a simple click turned into a nightmare. Maryland retiree Diane Reynolds was online when her screen froze and a warning popped up.
Access has been blocked for security reasons and for your safety. And call this number.
But that number wasn't tech support, it was a scammer. He claimed hackers had her bank account information and told her the only way to save her money was to convert it to encrypted Bitcoin.
How much money did he tell you to take out?
$13,100.
Reynolds went to her bank, withdrew the cash, and followed instructions to a gas station to this kiosk run by a company called Athena Bitcoin.
And this is the only proof that you have that you put $13,000 plus into that machine?
That is it.
Athena Bitcoin operates more than 4,000 crypto ATMs nationwide. They look like regular ATMs, but instead of cash, they convert your money into untraceable crypto. Critics say scammers are using them to steal millions, mostly from seniors.
Bitcoin ATMs are a tool that scammers, that criminals are using to separate people, including D.C. residents, from their hard-earned money.
Washington, D.C. Attorney General Brian Schwab is suing Athena.
Athena, as a Bitcoin operator, knows that its kiosks are being used by this element and yet have failed to put proper anti-fraud prevention systems in place to keep it from happening. And what makes it worse is they're profiting from this because they're charging very substantial fees.
Those findings, according to the AG, mean that every time someone is scammed, Athena, with a strict no-refund policy, gets a cut. And now Reynolds herself is suing. Vaughn Stewart is her attorney.
Are you alleging that the incentive to prevent this is not there because they do make so much on these transaction fees?
They're not just allowing the fraud to happen, they're profiting from it. And it's in their financial best interest to allow as many scams to happen as possible.
Athena denied our requests for an interview. In a written statement, the company says it strongly disagrees with the D.C. lawsuit, insisting it employs aggressive safety protocols, including prominent on-screen warnings. Reynolds says her experience left her shaken and determined to speak out.
Now I'm an advocate for just telling people this is real. Be aware.
Usher Qureshi, CBS News, Silver Spring, Maryland.
All right, so if you get a pop-up saying your computer is compromised, don't call the number on the screen. No bank, government agency, or law enforcement officer will ever ask you to deposit cash into a Bitcoin ATM. Instead, shut down your device, then call your bank directly, and then ask for help.
Diane, welcome to the Hip Senior Podcast.
Thank you very much for having me, Marianne.
Absolutely. Your story is sad, it's fascinating, it's intriguing. It's all those words, right? It's something that needs to be said. And I was so excited that CBS was coming out and interviewing you for the story, and I was disappointed that they weren't able in their time frame to tell more of the story. So that's why I wanted to have you back on our podcast. You've been on before about your book, Glimpses of Happiness, that you did with your father. And now we wanted to come back and talk about the story. So, Diane, introduce yourself, tell people a little bit about you, and we'll get into it.
Okay, I'm Diane Reynolds, and I live in Maryland. I was a full-time caregiver for my mom, who passed away just a year ago. She was 99, and I got very involved with the different aspects of the senior community and what it's like to be a caregiver. And I'm also an author and worked with my father's writings and published a book called Glimpses of Happiness, which I have shared with many of the senior communities around town because they're little Seinfeld-like vignettes that make people feel good.
People wouldn't say Diane's a stupid woman, would they?
I have never heard that before. No, I'm a pretty savvy businesswoman. I had run my own business for 16 years in California. I was a dental hygienist. I worked in publishing with my ex-husband. We had a magazine, and I still do work around the community here. I volunteer a lot and still actually have some clients. I wouldn't consider myself stupid by any means.
And you're not technology challenged. You have a computer, you have a smartphone, you've learned how to use Chat GPT. Like, you are keeping up with the times and learning new things every day that put you ahead. You're not just saying, oh, I am 70 some years old, I'm too old to learn anything new. You're keeping up with it.
I want to keep up with it. I think it's so important. And when I share some of the things I'm doing with people that don't want to keep up with it, I get a little bit annoyed because I like to think that the challenge of the new technology is so important. And it's here. We have to deal with it. And so, yes, that's very true. I am keeping up with what's going on as
Now,
best.
yeah, you're doing great. I would like to think that so we knew each other last year, but I had no idea this was going on. And we became a lot closer this year, particularly. So I'd like to think that if you and I were closer last year, that you would have felt comfortable enough to call me and say, hey, this is going on. What do you think? And I would have been like, well, stop. No, that's no. Because let's go back to last July. And let's get into it. Let's talk about this man called you and he told you what?
This man called me. First of all, he didn't call me. My computer screen froze.
Okay.
So when it froze, it gave me a number to call, which I thought was an Apple representative because I have an Apple computer. There was a big Apple on the screen. And like you said, and like a lot of people have said, why didn't I call you? Why didn't I call my computer guru? Why did I pick up the phone and call that number? That was my big mistake. And I was turned on to somebody who said he was an Apple representative. And from there, he turned me on to somebody that said my bank accounts had been compromised, and he was a Wells Fargo fraud specialist. So from there, the whole story started to blossom because this man, he gave me his name, Michael Davis, got me on the phone, told me about my accounts, told me that he needed me to protect my money, and gave me a way that he was going to help me. All I can say is he started getting very friendly. He became my friend. I started to trust him. And that's where I learned the hard way that this is all happening and these people are insidious in what they do and how they do it.
I was watching a video just yesterday on Instagram, and it was this woman who tells about these different scams, right? And she was saying, like, I think they're calling it something like a multi-layered scam or something like that, where there's multiple layers, just like you just described. You got one person, and then they gave you to the next person who built that confidence more and was building
They were all working together.
Yeah, but they're building the story with you, and in your mind, right? They're playing on your emotions. You're scared. You're worried about what's happening with your money. You've got people that are trying to help you. So you're feeling grateful at the time.
Exactly. And
But
why it didn't click with me, because I am smart, was my question. Even when I went to the bank and I started to cry and talk to a banker, and he said, Diane, don't beat yourself up about this. This is happening all the time, and you did not do anything wrong. But the good news is eventually I stopped it. And I saw when he was calling me, he had a 202 area code. So I thought he was local. I thought this guy was local. And of course, they're all over the world. But it made me feel even, I don't want to, like he was helping me on a local level, that maybe he was really seriously and going to help me save my money.
okay, so let's talk some of those, a little bit more of those details about what happened at that point. You've got a guy on the phone. He's from Wells Fargo. He's saying, let me help you protect your money, blah, blah, blah. What was the problem with your money? What did they say was the actual issue going on?
They said it was with my money, and they said it was with my computer, that the computer was being compromised. There was a porn scheme out of China. They were invading my computer. These people were going to get into my bank accounts, and this was going on with this Apple person and this guy, Michael. This is how they scared me. So what he told me to do was go to Wells Fargo, go to teller, and quote unquote tell a story. So I had to lie. I had to get my money and feel that they were going to believe me. I had to tell them a lie. So I walked in and I told them that my mother, which I was taking care of, were in an independent living community, needed to be moved to memory care. And I needed this money to move her. And the woman, I would say, was a little bit skeptical. And she says, don't you want a cashier's check? And I said, no, I need my cash. So she went and she gave me the money that I asked for,
Which
and
was $13,000.
$13,100.
Okay.
And that's what Michael told me that I needed to do to be able to protect my money. And not only was I going to protect my money, at this point, I didn't know where my money was going to go, but I was going to get interest on my money. And so I was okay with that idea, because I didn't want all my money to be just compromised. I was really concerned what was going to be happening with my accounts.
And they had gotten you all riled up. Your emotions are high. You're out of this world. Like that's what they do, is they get people to be acting on their emotions and running that adrenaline's running, the fear's running, the excitement of the whole thing. Not that you're excited about it, but the whole adrenaline thing of this is going on. And had you stopped and said, and people are going to be like, how did you fall for this, Diane? What the heck? But that's what they do, right? They call, they say either your grandchild has been in an accident or this or that, and they run on these emotions. In your case, it was your money.
Exactly.
That's that whole thing. Don't mess with me. Don't mess with my family. Don't mess with my money. That someone was messing with your money and you had to do what you had to do to stop it. And they were keeping you going and not letting you stop to think about it so that you would slow down, get rational brain again, and think clearly that way.
Marianne, the other thing he told me is that he was working with the Department of Justice. So not only was he working with the Apple person, he was working with the Department of Justice. And he put me on hold. He says, wait, I have a call with the Department. He was like going to be my good friend and protector. That's how I felt about this
Right.
guy. And the next step was that, where am I taking my money? He told me that I needed to drive around to find a Bitcoin machine. And I thought, what is he talking about? A Bitcoin machine? But I listened to him. He gave me one address and I couldn't find that place. He gave me another address. So about 2 hours later, he says, do you know where this location is? And it was called Randolph Road in Beers Mill. And I said, yeah, I know where that is. And I drove there, and it was a gas station. And at the gas station, there was one of these little convenient food marts. So he's on the phone with me. He's walking me through every step. I go into the store. The guy says, I asked him, I said, do you have a Bitcoin machine? And he points to an ATM. And he says, I guess you mean an ATM machine? And I said, no, a Bitcoin machine. He says, oh, yeah, it's over there, right over there on the other side of the store. So I walk over there to the other side of the store. Michael's on the phone with me. He's telling me what to do. He's telling me how to put my money in. He's telling me what to push on the screen because I know nothing about Bitcoins or what the value of this is. And I followed him and I fed my $100 bills in just like I was fitting it into a slot machine, one after another. And then I get a QR code. I go to the QR code. I go to that code. He gets whatever, wherever he is, he's getting my information. And he said, okay, you did good. And now we have to do some more things. Now we have to go and change your other bank accounts. We have to change your other accounts because your money is going to be compromised in all these other accounts. Ding. I think that's where I started to realize there was something really wrong going on here.
So what happened at that point? What did you do?
At that point, I went to the police. There's a local police station, and I said, I didn't use the word harassed right then. This man is calling me. He's telling me what to do. I went and I put my money in a Bitcoin machine. They filled out a police report, and I said, I'm hoping I can get my money back. FDIC, I thought, was you can protect your money. That's on the bank side. If they screw up on their side, you can get your money. This was me asking for my own money, so that had nothing to do with it. And ironically, the policewoman said, I know about this because I was a bank teller. You'll never see your money again. Your money's gone. So from that point, I just got very scared and petrified.
And I'm sure your heart sunk at that when she said that too.
I thought, that's a chunk of money for me. I'm a retiree. I need this money for my future. I need this money. So I left there. They filed the report. And in the meantime, the policewoman called him because the number was on my phone. She actually called that number. And the minute she called him, clink, he hung up. So I thought maybe that was it. Maybe I'm done with him. But long story short, that was not the end of the story.
Okay, what happened then?
What happened next is I went home and he's continually calling me and he said, we've got to talk. And I said, I really can't talk about this now. I have an appointment for my mother. I have to take her to the doctor. And he says, this is how they get under your skin. He said, in his words, he says, you be sure you're nourished when you take her. She says, you have a lot to do right now. You have to be protective of your own self and your own. And I'm thinking, what is this guy telling me to eat and make sure I'm nourished? I thought there's something a little screwy here. So I said, I can't talk to you now. I said, I'm done. I can't talk to you now. So he continued to call me. Then the next day came. That day was over. Then the next day came and he's still calling me and he's texting me. And ironically, the 202 number turned into a 617 number. I think it was Ohio, actually. I'm not sure. I'm thinking, that's odd. I thought he was in DC and now I'm getting a call from another number. Come to find out I think it was through the police, that these are all Google numbers. And when you call a Google number, it comes on, you get a message that says, hold on, give your name, and we will contact the person. And that's how they get through these different phone numbers to get to you. So the next day, I was pretty clear that I was going to be done with this guy. And I got a call, and this is a threatening call from him.
Okay. So Diane has sent me that call. I'm going to play it for you. 617, by the way, I looked it up, is in the Boston, Massachusetts area.
I don't know.
614 is in Ohio.
I thought it was Ohio because I checked the
614 is like the Columbus area.
Yeah, I checked that and I saw that.
Okay, so I'm going to try to play this straight from my phone where Diane had sent it to me. If for some reason it doesn't play well, I will upload it and we'll insert it into the script. So here is the call. It was very upsetting, obviously. It's a horrible thing for any human being to even think about doing to somebody else. This whole thing is horrible the reason that so many seniors don't speak up and do what Diane is doing with us today is because a lot of them are worried that their children are going to take away their bank cards or their credit cards or their car or their phones or whatever the case may be. Diane is being very forthright and honest and speaking up so that hopefully we can prevent this from happening. If we keep it from happening to one other person, it's worth it, right? Hopefully we can definitely get the word out there to many more people and make people realize that when your emotions are running high like that, that you're a lot more subject to doing things that you're told to do, thinking, like I said, this guy became your friend, when in fact, it was exactly the opposite. So let me play this call because friends don't make phone calls like this to people, and then we'll discuss it a little bit more. See if we can get this.
I'm just calling to let you know that I swear to God, I will come to your account, I will come to your home, your mother's, your account, all that you have in your child show up, and everything that you own, even your Chase credit card, your Wells credit cards, every one of them, I will take away them from you. That's my promise. Just wait a few hours and see the magic happens. You'll get to see everything take away from your account by 5 o'clock tonight. And that's my promise. If everything that you just gave me, $30,000, 10 years is gonna run away, it ain't gonna happen. I promise. There's more to come.
Now that's scary.
I thought he was going to come and kill me.
Sure, I would have too. He
So
said he
what
was
I
going to come to
did-
your home and take away everything you owned.
I was threatened. I really was scared for my life and my mother's life. And he said 5 o'clock on that Thursday. I did not tell my mother what was going on. I did not want to upset her. So
Right.
I said, Mom, we're going out to dinner. And about 4 o'clock, we left and we came home about 8 o'clock. And no Michael Davis. But
Did you send that to the police?
I did. They knew about it. I sent it to the police and I told them in that interview, the CBS interview, about it. And they knew about it. It was so frightening. Every time I hear the video, I get very nervous about it.
The audio,
I
right?
think maybe he's still going to come and get me. I doubt it. I don't think so, but he had all my information but it makes sometimes I do think that could happen. But as people tell me, he got what he wanted from me. He got $13,100. He's after the next person now and the next person now. So I should feel pretty confident that he's done with me.
You were a short game for him. He got
Could have been a long game. It could have been a really long game.
It could have. There's some people, I have spoken to people that have had relatives that were years into the making of a scam and have just years of this, right? And people's children have tried to stop them from giving money to people and this and that. Well, ideally, what the police will say is it's not illegal if this person wants to give away their money. And you can't really stop them unless you've got power of attorney and a whole bunch of other stuff.
In the bank, I
Yeah.
think they felt that's a lot of money just to ask for randomly but as he said, make sure you tell a good story. I could tell a good story. I wasn't just going on a trip to Paris. This was a legitimate story, where I live, what I was doing. She questioned me when she said, can I give you a cashier's check? And I think in the back of her mind, she thought, I wonder what's going on. But
And so what I found out was several years back, one of my friends was a bank teller and she said it used to be illegal for us to question these things. Like we just couldn't, that was your business, whatever. Then some laws passed and now they can. That's why she was asking you those questions. So what I'd like to tell everybody is if somebody, first of all, is threatening you, or if they're acting like you've got to do this right now, this is urgent, this is an emergency, if they're trying to rush you into making a decision, they're trying to get you before your brain calms down and goes back into that rational brain mode. There, you're in emotional brain, is what I call it. So that should be flag number one. If someone's trying to rush you and do this, if somebody calls you, if your screen locks up, like your bank, Apple computer, Macintosh, Windows, none of Microsoft, none of these computer companies or bank companies or anything like that will know that you have a virus on your computer. They won't know that your bank account is being attacked. The only way that bank accounts really get attacked like that is if for some reason, and I'm not saying the only way, okay? But one of the ways is when you start giving out your information and you give them maybe your URL to your computer, or you give them routing numbers, you allow them access to your computer while you're talking to them on the phone. There's so many different ways that they can get this, and you have to educate yourself, and you have to stop when you start hearing these red flags popping up and saying, okay, I need to stop. I need to call my bank from the phone number that I personally have in my phone, or look it up on Google to make sure that it's the official bank website so that you get their phone number. Drive down to your bank, whatever you need to do to get in touch with your bank and say, is my bank account at risk?
I know I question myself to this day is why didn't I pick up on this? How did they get in? I have a little laptop computer. That's what I work on. How did these people get into my computer to freeze my screen? To this day, I just wonder why me sitting here in a senior community could they get into my computer? I wish I had an answer.
And it happens every single day to people. And so that's why we're doing this story is, yeah, the news was a great starting point, but here's the rest of the story.
And here's another little tidbit is that I don't know if I had shared this. I stop answering my phone, which I haven't answered my phone with numbers I don't know for years. That wasn't the problem. It was the computer. But I'm sitting here the next day with my mother in my living room, and I have my door open but locked. The screen is open because we've got you could get light in. And there's a knock on the door. And a woman knocks on my door, and I said, can I help you? And she said, yeah, I'm from the Adult Human Services Department. And I said, why are you coming here? She says, I know your story. I know you were scammed. I said, wait a minute. I'm just scammed, and you're just coming to my door without even making a phone call, and I'm supposed to believe who you are? Now I'm questioning everything, absolutely everything. And sure enough, she was legitimate. She gave me her card. I got the number. I called her supervisor. She said the reason we do this is to protect seniors, because if I call them, they're going to hang up. They're not going to answer, and they're going to continue working with the scammers. So in one way, I respected what she was saying. In another way, I thought, this is too weird now.
See, now I wouldn't have even trusted her. I would have been like, I would definitely.
She told me what I did. I didn't. She told me she had all the information.
So did that guy that called you, though. They had, you know what I'm saying? They had the ability to get you to leave your home and go to the bank, take out $13,100, go to an ATM. Like he was pulling strings like a puppet would, puppet master. He was doing his thing. So for me, that would have been like another huge red flag. I would have been like,
and I just basically closed the door and I said, thank you very much. And don't knock on my door again. I didn't really talk to her, but it was like, the whole thing it just snowballed, one thing after another. And then I went, it was just frightening.
Paranoid check.
The worst was the thread. She came in and whatever. I have her information. I gave that to the police as well. I said, this is just absurd. I don't know if it was another part of this story or why she came at that time or she's following seniors that have been scammed. In our community, apparently there was a woman that lost $250,000 with gold bars. How that happened, God only knows, but she did. And people were losing their whole retirement funds, everything they owned. But they target, and the other thing about this story is the machine is called Athena Bitcoin. Not only is my attorney, we're trying to sue Athena Bitcoin. As you saw in the CBS News, they're trying to get to Athena Bitcoin. And there was absolutely a story I saw a couple weeks ago on CNN, and it was called Athena Bitcoin and Bitcoin Depot. And these Athena Bitcoin machines are out there for one purpose, and it's to get scammers your money to the scammers. Because once it goes in the machine, it goes into some sort of it's called a wallet, goes right to them. So I don't know why these machines are still on the street. They keep putting them in different locations. And that was the other thing. Somebody says, would you go into a food mart and give your money to? Where was my head? I'm looking for a certain machine. That's all I was focused on.
Let's talk about that for a minute, because they talked about you got a receipt from the machine showing that you did that. And they said when they contacted Athena that they have warnings on the screen, stuff like that. Did you see these warnings
And
on the
they've
screen?
even asked, the investigative reporters asked me that too. There were no warnings on any screen. So sometimes it says, make sure if it's this amount of money you want to deposit, and you go yes or no. There was nothing on the screen at all. It was just different layers of amounts of money, which I don't know. It was in a Bitcoin probably script. And he said, push this button, and I pushed that button, and that's where my $100 was going. And there was no indication whatsoever of any kind of prompt that would stop me. Well, now they might have them, because the reporters were saying that they're starting to maybe put in these prompts because this is what these machines are notedly used for.
Right.
But in my case, nothing. And that is the only receipt, the only proof that I have. That's the money I lost.
So is this a class suit? They said you're suing Athena. Is this a class suit? Is there other people in this with you?
My attorney is trying to get a class suit going. Up to now, I don't know where we stand on that, but he is trying to get a class action suit going where other people that have been scammed would be part of this. It's still just in the works right now.
Okay. So if somebody's watching this and they says, oh my God, this happened to me, who should they contact? And is this only for people in Maryland, or is this nationwide, worldwide? Do you know?
I don't know.
They could call your attorney and find out.
They can call my attorney. He's a Maryland state delegate, and he also has in a private law firm. And he's the one that's my attorney for this.
What is his name?
On Stewart, Stewart.
Okay, we'll put his contact information in the show notes below so people can call him or email him to find out more information about getting involved with that, or if they have information that they can provide to help this case at all. But our main case isn't putting this out there, isn't to get more information from you all. It's literally to tell you the story, what happened, and give you the rest of the story. Like I said, a 3-minute news story on the news cannot tell everything. They didn't play the audio for you. You saw the video at the beginning of this video of what they talked about. And it's helpful to start getting the messaging out there. And then it takes other people to interview Diane and to get the whole story out there so that we know exactly what's going on.
And I just heard, I just got a note from Vaughn that John McCarthy, who's the state attorney for Maryland, is coming to my community, Leisure World in Silver Spring, and he is going to bring up the story at his presentation.
Oh, that's great. That's
Yeah.
great. He just got that now as we were talking.
He's got that. Yeah. He said he heard back from John. He said he would include your story in his presentation Friday.
Nice.
Unfortunately, Vaughn can't be there.
But Diane she'll be saying, yeah, get him.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of nerve and a lot of courage to stand up and show your face and say, I screwed up. I did. This is
very brave. I'll say that to you, but I screwed up and it's an embarrassment. I feel when I tell my friends, they said, what are you talking about? How could you do that? And you're a bright woman. And I said, I just have to say, he got me. He became a friend of mine. He was going to protect my money, and I believed him. And never again will I. And even one time, this state's attorney, when I first started this whole case, I called him initially, and that was last year. And he called me, and I didn't know the number, and I never answered. And when I finally met him in person, he says, I called you, but you did the right thing. You didn't answer a phone that you didn't know. And that was him calling me. You learn not to do that, but and this is happening more and more. It's so prevalent right now. You hear about it all the time. And it seems like it's more prevalent than it ever has been.
It really is. And Diane, don't beat yourself up, because we all make mistakes, whether it is with a job that we screw up, whether it's a marriage that we get into that we shouldn't have. There's so many different ways. Human beings. Exactly. We're human beings. It happens.
Yeah.
And as long as you learn from your screw up and you move on and you don't do it again, and you have the bravery to tell other people to try to help them as well. I mean, there are so many horrible things going on in the world. And Diane, to me, you're just a ray of sunshine.
And I appreciate the ability to get the message out. When I told, that's the last thing I said to the CBS reporter. I said, I just want other people to know and beware that this is happening. That was my story. And unfortunately, like you said, they didn't go underneath and find out more details. But they didn't have time, maybe, who knows why. But at least they got it out there. And I even bumped into somebody the other day and she says, I saw that on CBS this morning. I didn't even, and she said, I told my husband, I think she's a client of my friend here. And I said, yeah, that was me. Somebody actually saw it that I didn't even tell to see it, which made me feel like, wow, the word is getting out there.
This is very important. If you have any questions or anything, drop them down in the comments below. You'll find this on YouTube. So just go ahead and drop your questions below. We'll try to get your answers to you. Maybe we'll do a follow-up video if there is enough questions where people want more information. We'll also have her attorney's information down below as well. And if you're in Maryland, if you're in Leisure World area this coming Friday, today's Wednesday. I don't know how many of you all are going to see this before Friday, but that is the possibility as well as coming out and listening to that talk. Who's coming out again?
Name is John McCarthy, and he is the state's attorney, Maryland state's attorney.
What time is that at Friday?
At 10 o'clock in the Crystal Ballroom in Leisure World.
Okay.
If anybody wants to come, they would just go through the gate and let them know that they're going to this presentation.
Okay, great. All right, Diane, thank you so much for being open and honest and sharing the rest of the story with us. I hope I don't get sued for saying that. Is it?
The rest of the story.
Like I said, if you have any questions, drop them below. And I know we haven't been doing very many podcasts lately. We've been on a little bit of a hiatus with that, but we felt that this was important enough to dust off our microphone and to hop on and to share this with you. Diane, thank you so much for sharing it with us.
Thank you for your time.
All the best to you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.